Federal Reserve Board has this much world financial control of markets, currencies, interest rates, economies gets so out of date. I think the Fed's dual mandate gets just antiquated.
For school or college, and then healthcare was $2,500 to $3,000 a year. Very doable on $100,000 a year income. Healthcare is $24,000 a year, so healthcare's gone up almost 10x.
Welcome to the Wise Money Guys radio show. I'm your co-host, John Scambray. I'm here with my partner,
Giuseppe Visconti.
And we are certified portfolio managers, which means we are investment experts at helping people who are retired or about to retire manage their money. If you like our show, have any comments or questions, or want to get together for a no-obligation consultation, give us a call at 916-967-3500. For more information, you can also visit our website at wisemoneyguys.com. Scroll to the end of the page for important information. And you can also email us at question@wisemoneyguys.com. And we got a pretty big thing happening tomorrow, or this week, rather, I should say. The Fed. The Fed is what, has really kind of put us on a pause, if you will, of continual record breaking, and even created a little bit of a pullback here, which last week you got your eyes worked on, and I said, hey, lock in some profit and buy on the dips. And certainly I think that's the opportunity.
Which dip?
That we're in. Yeah. Which
dip do you buy on?
Well, when there is a dip, you got to look at certain things that you're following, and then, buy those things that you think are now at a good price. But it just, I don't know how many times I've talked about this over the years, but the fact that the Federal Reserve Board, has this much world financial control of markets, currencies, interest rates, economies, prosperity, it just seems, I think it's so out of date. I think the Fed's dual mandate, which I see you have some notes here on, and if you wouldn't mind talking about some of this stuff that we're expecting from the Fed, but I think it's just antiquated. And I think they've got to rein in some of the control that the Fed has, because they shouldn't be able to decide, and really kingmaking, right? So they cut rates last year when they shouldn't have, and the market reacted negatively. And interest rates actually went higher because everybody
the stock market was fine,
but everybody knew it was political. And now, when you've got a still a pretty decent economy, but definitely signs of slowing, and we're seeing that in the labor market and in the jobs reports and retail sales and things like that. You certainly have the ammunition to be preemptive. I think being preemptive to make a mistake one way or the other, a preemptive mistake on cutting is better than a mistake on, not cutting.
Is it?
I think so. What do you think?
Well, I mean, they made three cuts last year, right? That was the wrong move. So that could have been preemptive, and then yields went higher.
But are we doing as well as we're doing because they were preemptive? Even though it didn't do it didn't have the effect that they wanted. And when I say they, we're talking about the Federal Reserve Board, the FOMC, on interest rates. But we did get a more normalized yield curve, and we have had a pretty robust, economy up until recently, and decent GDP numbers, so on and so forth. So
except for the first quarter,
1.4.
That's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, so why not, push the accelerator down more?
I think it's a tough spot to be in, because their mandate is price stability and full employment. We got full employment. We've had full employment. The stock market's been resilient. We've hit all-time highs. So, there and when you go back to the amount of power they have, is I think the problem with the Fed is they flip-flop and they change their strategy.
Oh,
It's not,
exactly.
they're not operating today like they used to, like in the 1990s, right? And so they're either
Like way long ago in the 1990s.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I have some actually information from 1990s and the golden, right? And I'm sure you lived through it. I remember when I was growing up, I was like, oh, if I can make $100,000 a year,
Yeah.
like that would be perfect, right? You can have enough
six figures.
You can have enough
And
to
then
buy
if
a
you
house,
retired with $1
vacation.
million, that was, you were good.
Oh,
Yeah,
you're rich.
you were good. You were
Yeah,
rich.
because emotion starts bleeding into
Well, like right
decisions.
now, right? We had a client come in and literally, because of the records and stuff like that, she took over basically the management of an account that they have, and was like, oh, I've got this. I can just, use Chat GBT. And that's just, I mean, not reality. In fact, AI is proving, so far to be, I mean, other than helping you create, a letter or come up with some ideas, it's nowhere near where the future is going to be when once
It's a helpful tool for sure.
but that's all it is.
I use it, but you have to. I think the caution is you have to know some and have some information and knowledge of the subject matter that you're dealing with, because if you don't, because I've ran some economic analysis and things on stock market, and the importance of AI is how you prompt, number one, and then number two, knowing enough about the information that you're trying to extract from it to decipher if that's accurate or relevant information or not. Because I've ran into situations where I've done things to help with analysis in either stock market or economic, and there was a situation where it was completely wrong. And so I had to double check it, and I went and I did some of my own research, and I'm like, no, this is not, I don't know where it's pulling this information from.
But I think that point is valid. Your input, the quality of your input and what you're asking it to come up with determines the quality of the output.
Exactly.
And so,
and if you don't know enough of the information or subject matter, then how are you going to best prompt it?
Exactly. Right? And so,
and you can get the information and you say, great, I'm going to run with that. And if you don't know, and the only reason why you do that is because you don't know enough about the subject matter, that you're just going to run with that. And maybe that, provides to be successful, but maybe not. And it gives you something completely different.
I'm kind of glad that these things are coming out, because certainly there's some benefit, like you said, as a tool.
Yeah.
But it also demonstrates to me how much we are needed and will be needed still in the near and medium term future, just because things are changing drastically. And the more we're in this new industrial revolution, the more opportunity that needs to be researched and deciphered to decide what should make up your portfolio. And now you look at, and what's interesting is, and I don't know who wrote this article, but maybe you can talk about that. What the inflation adjusted levels are, and what it would mean to feel rich, say in San Francisco or San Jose or in different parts of California, that would be how you would felt in the 80s if you
90s,
had $1 million and you were making $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's some pretty unbelievable stuff, which really then goes to, you just can't make 3 or 4% on your money anymore and think that you're going to,
unless you got a whole lot of it.
Yeah. Unless you have tens of millions, or even,
or you live meagerly. It's one or the other, or both.
Right. So our job is to help you live, the coming years and the coming decades at the same level where you feel good about what you have and what you can do, now, but on into the future and for the rest of your lives. That's really what planning and money management is about.
Right.
So go into some of that. This is
just
blew my mind.
So there's a lot of data here, but I read this article, and it was basically, it's the golden $100,000 in the 1990s, right? It was you just start your job or you get out of college and your whole goal was, man, if I can make six figures, like I have it made, right? I feel accomplished, right? And it doesn't mean that you were super rich, but you were making enough money at that time where you could, really be goal oriented to buy your own house, to take vacations, to have a family, right? To be able to save for maybe kids' college, so on and so forth. So at that point in time, $100,000 in 1990, basically was 3 times the median income. So the median income was about $30,000. Okay, so it was 3x the median income. Housing, that basically boiled down to 2.5 times income. So buying a house around $200,000 or $250,000. Tuition at that time was $8,000 a year, so it was relatively low. Healthcare, right? And these are all the things, right? Housing, tuition if you're saving up for a kid or maybe helping out a grandchild for school or college, and then healthcare was $2,500 to $3,000 a year. So very doable on $100,000 a year income. Now, when you adjust it for inflation, fast forward to 2025, $100,000 back then would equal $223,000 a year now. But even $223,000, even though that's more than double, okay, it still feels like you're treading water, is basically what the article is saying. Because when you look at median income and you compare that to the median, this is just for the U.S., not California. California is way out of whack. But when you look at the median income versus a median house or the cost of a home, you now need 5 times the income for a house, right? Tuition now is $42,000 a year. Healthcare is $24,000 a year. So healthcare has gone up almost 10x. Tuition has gone up, what is that? 8 to 42, 5x plus, right? That's quite a bit. So the rising cost of everything and just to live, for housing, tuition, healthcare, all those things, income has not caught up with that. And the sad thing is, you now see dual income as a bigger percentage of households versus just a single income.
Almost, you can't be a single income household. At least most people in the country can't.
Right. Yeah. And especially depending on where you live. Right. So the whole article was saying that the middle class, right? Because if you're making $100,000 back then in 1990 per se, you're a middle class and you're living comfortable. You can take vacations. You can, live in a decent area of a neighborhood, buy a house. And that was actually my dad. My dad in the late 80s, I remember I was asking him, I started becoming curious and asking him because he had his own business doing tile and marble with my uncle. And I asked him, I was like, what do you guys do? Like, how much you making this? And he says, about $100,000 a year. And the late 80s was great. Lived in San Jose at the time.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you're gonna bring up some stuff on San Jose.
No way to pull that off.
Lived in San Jose. That's where I grew up. Lived in a decent neighborhood in San Jose. They had their own house. My dad they had 3 vehicles. They had, at that time, I think between late 80s and early 90s, my dad had a weekend car, Camaro. Also had a motorhome. We went on vacations. We go back east, every other year. Went to Hawaii, things like that. So my dad didn't have. And my mom stayed home. All right. And that provided $100,000 at that time. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable.
Right.
Right. $100,000 today, or even $200,000 today in San Jose. Good luck. So there's another article, and John's going to read some numbers off.
Yeah. So I love this, but go on.
For what does it take to feel rich? Okay. To feel like, man, I've made it. I'm living real comfortable in some of these more expensive cities like San Jose and San Francisco, when you put it in relation to the cost of living in those cities.
Well, now you know why, because I'm going to tell you why people leave the Bay Area and come out to the Sacramento area.
They have the opportunity to work remote from home, for sure. Right?
Because according to this, in San Jose, to feel like you felt back in the late 80s or 90s, where you were comfortable for affording the house, the health care, the cars, so on and so forth.
Tuition.
Now in San Jose, it's $842,000 a year. In San Francisco, it's slightly less, $768,000. Napa, 708. Santa Cruz, 672. Santa Rosa, 534. Vallejo.
Yeah.
Vallejo, I mean, yeah, there's okay. I mean, I guess if you're looking at some of the bay there, it might be nice, but Vallejo's a pit. It's a dump. And
Is it?
I mean, they're don't get me wrong.
Calm down.
Nice
Calm down.
areas.
You got Six Flags,
but
that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. 409,000
Yeah.
to live comfortably or to live like you feel rich in Vallejo.
I'm surprised they didn't have
Stockton.
Yeah.
375.
Yeah.
Modesto, 341. Now that doesn't mean the average household income
No.
is those.
No.
It just means to feel like it was the 80s or 90s all over again.
And you were making it.
Where you were comfortable based on, the house payment, the insurance payments, the property taxes, the car payment, the
vacation,
utilities,
being able to save up for tuition for kids for college and all that.
And the reality is it's not going to get better. I can't tell you how many times over the years people have pulled money out because
I had one
a business opportunity or a friend told them, and this is a sure thing. It's this is from the CEO's friend of a friend's brother, sister's cousin's mother. And then they pull out 50 grand, 100 grand, 200. And then they come back a couple of years later.
I should have personally done that. I should have personally done that with one back in 2012.
That worked out.
Yep.
Okay.
2012. I should have done it.
Apple.
It was $12 at the time.
Apple.
Nope.
Google.
We talked about it before in a previous.
Microsoft.
Way bigger than that. Way bigger than that.
Nvidia.
It was $12 at the time in 2012.
2000.
End of 2012.
Yeah. Okay.
It's now six figures.
Oh, Berkshire.
Bitcoin.
Oh, well, come on. Of course. Well,
somebody had told me you should look into it, the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, blah, 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 blah. And my wife said, and we had talked about this, I don't know what show it was, but then she says, what if we just take $1,000 and buy, it would have been 90 Bitcoin about at the time.
Make a millionaire.
Yeah. Not mega, but I'd have almost $10 million.
That's mega. What do you consider mega?
Megalodon.
Well, I have one not quite that good, but in 1996, there, of course, internet and the speed of information, which we talk about in our workshop, wasn't what it is today.
Yep.
And I read and subscribed to Smart Money Magazine, which I don't even think is around anymore. And it said, buy these three companies. One of them was Abbott Labs, one of them was Apple, and then the other one was GE. Buy these three companies now. And here's why. Well, I looked at GE. GE was very expensive, and I couldn't buy a lot of shares based on the price.
Yeah.
Abbott Labs, the stock had run up quite a bit, and from the research I read, was pretty close to its target price, so on and so forth. And then there was Apple. Apple was about $16 a share, so I bought 1,000 shares.
Mm-hmm.
And then Apple, about 1 month later, went to $21 a share. And you know what I did?
Sold it.
I sold it.
Yeah.
But, hindsight is 2020. I mean, that 1,000 shares is probably worth at least $1 million
today.
Now,
after all
today,
with
the splits and everything.
Yep.
But that's reality. I mean, sometimes it works that way.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it doesn't. And we include planning for all of our clients. It's not an extra cost to help you identify what real numbers you need to achieve each year to not run out of money and have a very high probability of success, which we shoot for an 80% or better probability of success, that you won't run out of money and you'll achieve whatever your minimum return to objective is. And if it's 6%, then your portfolio should net 6% or be designed to net 6%. If it's 7 or 8, so on and so forth, then your portfolio should be designed to have a high probability of achieving those numbers. And if you don't know these things, then you're gonna wish you did, and you're gonna wish you called 916-967-3500. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to the Wise Money Guys, John Scambray and Giuseppe Visconti. We always enjoy talking to you each Saturday. So come back and give us a listen next week. Bye, all.
Bye. Have a great weekend.